Welcome to Dragonheart. I am joined by Mark Griffiths and Bill Long. How are you both?
You can probably hear by my throat how good I am. Still recovering from getting excited at Notts County on Friday.
Well, it was certainly a very exciting occasion. We're into the next round. Of course, we're going to be breaking that down. We're going to be talking about yours and everyone's favourite FA Trophy memories that weren't the final, of course, and a few other bits and bobs along the way. So let's not wait around. This is Dragonheart.
I'm Liam McLindon and this is Dragonheart.
We're into the pot for the next round. It's going to be a tasty draw against Stockport, but first, let's talk about Notts County. A very successful away tie. You two are going to have to do most of the breaking down with this one because I was occupied doing other things, but I got to watch some of the game at least. So, Mark, cracking result, wasn't it?
Absolutely fantastic. I guess we rode our luck occasionally, but, you can't dominate 90 minutes of every game. And, again, just the spirit of coming in and scoring a late goal. We've suddenly become a team that expects to do that sort of thing, which I don't know what you think, Bill, but I think it's a real testament to the character and belief in the squad.
Yeah, we've done it yet again, gone behind in the first half and ended up turning it around to another 2-1 away victory. We've done that, fair bit this season. It's really impressive. I've got to say, I did see a few Notts County fans on Twitter, and I know we don't really give the Twitterati too much attention usually, but being a little bit how should we put it, salty that saying that we had to put our full strength out and all that sort of stuff. Like, you're in a game of football, you've got to play to win it, and if we're not performing and we need our star strikers to come on and win the game for us, then that's what you do. And a lot of talk about how our full strength played against their 60% was one Twitter comment I saw, and I thought, well, you know what? Like, actually, that wasn't a full strength Wrexham side, even with Mullin and Palmer coming on. It wasn't a full strength Wrexham side. So, full credit to the lads for turning it around. And I think it's actually quite enjoyable being that side that's annoying other teams. We've had too many teams come to us and be that annoying team that go on and be successful. Let's be that team that goes and does it back.
Yeah, no more Mr.
What do you
Nice
think,
team.
Chip? Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. No more Mr. Nice team. I like that, Mark.
Yeah,
we got a title for that episode sources. I'm going to say now, if the Notts County fans, no, I think first they have a right to respond however they wish. Secondly, if it was an injustice, then I look forward to watching them play against Stockport on April the 2nd. Oh no, that'll be us. But I mean, to be frank. What about the first game, a home game of the season then, when we absolutely destroyed Notts County and they managed to get away with a draw? If we'd scored 5 goals in that game, I don't think they could have complained. So that is the nature of football. How about the game we played at Notts County in the league when we were sensational for 8 minutes, took the lead, and then had a player sent off, and despite that, could easily have got something out of the match, missed a penalty at 2-1. Over the balance of the 3 games, we've been the better side. But to be fair, I think Notts County actually a decent club. And I prefer to see it as there's something in the chemistry amongst us that seems to guarantee a great game. Because all 3 games have been really open and attacking and exciting. And I think I'd rather celebrate that, if I'm honest with you. I'd like to see them go up.
Yeah, definitely.
I think a lot of people in the club at Wrexham would like to see them go up because they're a decent club. And I don't mean decent in a sort of, they're decent, I suppose. I mean, act decently. And I was saying to some of their very friendly staff, I said, we'd like you to go up as well, as us. And they said, we might meet you in the playoff final. So I promised we'll take care of Stockport in the normal season if they promise to get them in the playoffs. So, I hope that comes to pass, to be honest.
Well, after their result on Tuesday, I think that the league's pretty much so tied up now. I think Stockport are going up as champions. Anyway, that's a different conversation.
What?
Yeah, well,
Bill,
yeah.
is there a reading on that titleometer?
I think it's gone down to a 6, but I'm still a little bit more confident than Chay. I think it all comes down to the next couple of weeks. I don't think games like that against Notts County, when they're on a good run of form, are a real indicator. We're still waiting for that slip up from them, which isn't happening. But the closer we get towards the end of the season, the more pressure there's going to be. So let's see. Titleometer's gone down. What was it? Was it 7 last week? I can't remember. Or was it still 6? It'll stay.
We won't go up as champions. We're not going up as champions. We're 4th at the moment. Halifax are in fantastic form as well. We've got them to play yet. We've got Stockport to play yet. By the time, I'll guarantee it, honestly, mark my words, but I'll guarantee it, Stockport would have already won the league before we play him that last home game of the season. Anyway.
Do you know what? There's something good, sort of kind of going back to what Mark said, and it does apply to Stockport a little bit as well. There's a bit of needle between all those ex-league clubs. The fan base is more than the clubs. Obviously, you said that there's a lot of mutual respect between Notts County, club staff and Wrexham club staff, but we're also desperate to get up. There's that sort of almost forced rivalry going on when I'm completely indifferent to Notts County, to be honest. They seem like a really nice club, but we don't want them to win because we want to go up. And it kind of reminds me of Luton. I know that their trajectory has been really high up the last couple of years, but I think both sets of fans look on that fixture fondly now. But at the time, it was really tasty, wasn't it? When we played Luton, the atmosphere was always very on edge.
Oh, 100%, yeah. Especially after that 3-0 in the playoffs, when we wanted to get back at them somehow, and nearly did in the second leg, remarkably. Oh yeah, we had some really good games against them, didn't we? I'm just wondering, what will Chay's forfeit be when he's proven to be wrong? We need to have a proper. Maybe we used to throw this out on Twitter. We need to have a proper forfeit for it.
Look at Stockport's form. It's excellent at the moment.
Yeah,
they've got Wealdstone and Kings Lynn and Eastleigh for their next 3 games. We have who's our next 3 games?
We've got run of
Bromley, Halifax, and Dover. Bromley's a really tough game away from home, and Halifax are in excellent form and above us in the league. So they could be well and truly ahead by the time we play them. I just can't see anyone knocking them off the perch. There's nothing wrong with that. We'll go up. I really fancy us in the playoffs, the way we play. I wouldn't want to play us, especially with the big crowds we're getting, and we're winning a lot at home now. It seems to be coming together, but I just think Stockport at the moment they're at that point where, they're going to have to go on a significant loss of form to not win the league. It's all down to them now, isn't it?
They only need to lose 2 games and they've got to play us once as well. That's how I look at it. They only need to lose 2 games and draw 1. And if we keep our run of form going and match their results, that's it. That's why I'm not nothing has really changed. Even though they've beaten Notts County, nothing's really changed since last week because they've won 1 extra game. Well, they were winning games anyway. We've still got that game in hand on them, and the same scenario if we were to win that game in hand. So I'm somewhere in the middle of both of you, I think.
That is actually how I view it. I feel nothing's changed. I expected Stockport to beat Notts County. They will drop points, I think, but it'll come later. And I respect your point, Chay, about them being in excellent form, but they're actually on the same winning run as we are because they've won 7 and we have.
Yeah, I agree, but I just think we threw away too many points early on in the season. I think, if we got that win against Notts County at home, if we didn't lose Stockport, that was a throwaway game. If you remember that first half, how we actually ended up losing that to 2 silly goals. I think if we
and they were in a bit of disarray at that point as well, weren't they?
Of course, yeah, and Yeah, I don't know. I'm not so confident, Mark. It's not coming from a bad place. Not saying we're a bad side. You know what I mean? It's coming from the fact I think Stockport look like a title-winning side.
You know what? When we commentate, Neil Williams always says that you're a pessimist. All I can say is good things happen to optimistic people. You're sitting there wallowing in the fact that we've won 7 in a row, so we must be awful. I'm here being positive. I'm here being positive, and I've just found a mini egg. So you see, good things happen to good people. It's delicious.
That's some politician level of word twisting there, Mark. Fair play, I like it.
And it was just sitting here on my table. It just materialised when I started being optimistic. Come on, Chay.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, but I honestly think we the next 2 games are going to be vital, aren't they? You know, looking at Bromley, looking at Halifax. That's 2 really, really important games, isn't it? And I don't know. Halifax are in fine form as well. You know, Boreham Wood have still got a lot of game. They've got a game in hand over us, or only a point behind us if they win their game in hand. It's quite exciting for a neutral this season in the National League. But personally, I just think Stockport look really, really good this season.
What are we talking about?
I think though, for the first time.
Yeah.
At some point, we should go back to that, I think.
I think circling back round to that slightly, like I think that game and the squad depth that we've shown, I know we've talked about it before, but the games like that are really showing that if we don't go up, it's a matter of when rather than if. If we don't go up this year, it's probably going to be next year. You know, when you've got Dan Jarvis, who's barely played a game, putting in a performance like he did, the other day, and he'd be well down some people's pecking orders. And we've got a hell of a squad, and it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I think we keep these players keep performing like that next year. They're going to be 1 year better off for it as well. So fingers crossed.
I must say, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, let's talk about that. You know, last week we were talking about, do we field our strongest side? When the team sheets were announced, what was your reaction, Mark?
I don't think anything out of the ordinary, if I'm honest with you. We've got a better chance of winning if Mullen and Palmer start, but I thought that was a team that could still win. So, which, let's be honest, is what Parkinson's looking at when he picks a team like that. He's not throwing the game. He's saying, I think this team can do this job. So, I mean, I was glad to see Ponticelli and Jarvis given that opportunity. And I think the fact that Jarvis stayed on to the end shows that he took that opportunity well. I felt a bit sorry for Ponticelli. He worked very hard. We weren't really making the chances. But then, you know, we always knew that we had strength and depth on the bench. I just felt a bit edgy because Bryce Hosanna had to go off. I just felt a bit edgy that, well, maybe we might be compromised later on in the game. You know, if Parkinson's thinking, I'm going to bring on both strikers, now he's had to use one of his subs, will he be brave enough to do that? Or will he think, I've got to keep one in hand in case there's another injury? But he was bold, he went for it, and he's rewarded for it.
Yeah, of course. What do you think, Bill?
It's just pretty much the same, really. I think we had a little bit of a chat, didn't we, Chay, when we saw it, and it seemed like the right thing to do, keep the spine of the side, you know, the back five, other than Hosanna, intact. Hosanna was the obvious swap, wasn't he? And unfortunately, you know, it was a real shame for him that he couldn't keep going for the 90 minutes and give a bit of an opportunity to show what he was capable of. Midfield sort of picks itself at the moment, doesn't it? And then it was just down to the strikers. I was kind of surprised not to see Kwame or Dior maybe get an opportunity, but his second choice lineup seems to be playing Jarvis sort of behind the lone striker, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He played the last FA Trophy game, didn't he, as well? And he played all right against Boreham Wood. He played reasonably good against Wealdstone as well. And I think Jarvis deserves his opportunity. He's a young player. He's got a lot of technical ability. Last season, he didn't really show. I think all the fans are really wanting him to play last season. When he played, didn't really light the world up, shall we say. But I think any manager, anyone can see that Jarvis is a player with a lot of promise, isn't he, Mark? And it was a hell of a goal to get us back into the game.
It was a lovely finish, wasn't it? Because it was just coming a bit behind him. And I must say, I always like Jarvis when he's sort of being decisive and quick with things. I think that the thing that counts against him occasionally is that because he's such a lovely technical player, he does slow things down a bit. Sometimes it's appropriate to do that, don't get me wrong, but sometimes it's good to act quickly, and he's got such good technique that, yeah. Am I being stupid? Is the fact that the ball was slightly behind him a good thing for him? Because it meant he had to fall back on his technique and finish first time, rather than take a touch and then maybe you see the chance you sort of go away from him a bit because players might close him down, maybe. I don't know, but it was a lovely take, wasn't it? It was slightly behind him and he just nailed it and got the leverage on it into the top corner. It was a beautiful, beautiful finish. He's a fine player.
Well, I'd like to hear your opinion, Bill. Do you think, Dan Jarvis is a very young player, of course. Do you think he's someone who could really, grow into football with their age, if you know what I mean? His decision making will get better, his physicality to get better. Do you think he's someone that we'll utilise as we go up the leagues?
I mean, it's possible. He came from, am I right in thinking he was Stokes Academy he was from? So there's that technical knowledge that he'll have gained being in a higher up academy. I think he could be the star player for a lot of teams in positions below us if they had the right sort of setup for it, and we're lucky to have a player of his quality on the bench. And he's only going to benefit from playing with the likes of Tozer, Hayden, Mullin, Palmer, O'Connor, all these lads that have played at other Football League clubs and know what it takes to make that step up. Whereas, under Keats, you've got the likes of Rutherford and Jay Harris who have done similar, but maybe coming towards the tail end of their career. You've got lads who can, with Jarvis, who can not only talk the talk, but they can currently walk the walk as well. And that I think that sort of style of captaincy and leadership of setting an example is maybe something that we've missed over the last couple of years. I think, like a lot of players have provided that, don't get me wrong, but to have that across the starting 11, your main starting 11 only gives your bench a massive boost, doesn't it, Chay, really?
Yeah, I 100% agree. He's got real quality around him, and he is really pushing for that first 11 position at the moment. Dan Jarvis, he had an excellent game against Notts County. He's had a few good cameos so far this season. Yeah, and I think Phil Parkinson really does rate him. So yeah, we went into the first half. It was a close game, wasn't it, Mark? The first half, it was very well contested.
Can I just jump back to Jarvis for a second as well, if that's okay, Chay? That it's starting to scare me how much Bill and I obviously saw things very similarly on Friday, because I wholeheartedly agree with what he said before about if we don't go up this season. I was thinking the same thing after Friday's match, that we looked like it seemed that, well, we should keep our squad together, probably add 2 or 3 more, and the way we've clicked and it has gelled now, I'd be terrified if we were in the National League next season for all the others, because I think we'd absolutely blow it away. And I also strongly agree with what you're saying about Jarvis as well. I was thinking the same thing, that, when we play games and you see that lad in the other side's midfield who absolutely stands out and you think, oh, he's a good player. Jarvis would be that player playing for anyone else pretty much in our division. And that's the sort of quality he's got. And so, yeah, he's an asset, and I think one that could continue at a higher level to look better than he does at this level. Going on to what you said, Chay, yeah, the first half was. I thought. I mean, to be fair, I thought Notts County played well and probably on balance had more of the game than us. And did they carve out enough opportunities? Considering that, there was a good save, wasn't there, by Dibble early on, low down to his left when Mitchell turned and hit it. We defended the box fairly well, I thought, and we started to show threat as well. So the first half was, pretty well contested. We came back into it well, I thought. And just like you said earlier, we don't seem to get flummoxed if we go behind, which is good. You know, you see teams that react badly to going behind. We don't seem to see that as a huge setback. There's confidence in the team that they'll pull themselves back into it. Having said that, I think it was crucial we got an equaliser before we got the two big star strikers on. But no, it was a well contested first half, wasn't it? I thought Notts County were really fluent considering the fact that they had so many of their players out injured. You know, their movement of the ball, especially down the right-hand side, was really good and well-oiled and looked like something that had been worked on a hell of a lot. So the fact that they had players out was quite impressive, I thought, really.
Yeah, and it seemed to be more of the same second half as well, didn't it? I think they put us under a lot of pressure, didn't they, Bill?
Yeah, they were unlucky. I can't remember time-wise. Didn't take notes, so apologies for not remembering. But I think it was around the 80th minute when they hit the bar, was it, Mark? And it was
88.
Yeah, right. So it was right before
we scored.
Yeah, right before we scored.
97 seconds later.
Yeah, it was a thunderous shot, wasn't it? And that shot was worthy of a goal, really. I don't like saying that. That's one of those commentator cliches that I hate. Like, oh, he's hit that perfectly. Well, if it was perfect, it would have ended up in the back of the net. But that was the kind of shot that probably deserved a goal in a way, wasn't it?
But it was a save, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Dibble saved it.
Was it?
Yeah,
Dibble
did
he tip it onto the post, right?
It was an incredible save.
I haven't seen the highlights back, you see, so I did watch it at the time, but I was watching it on a tablet, so probably didn't quite see it properly. But fair play to Dibble if he saved it.
Well, let's talk about Dibble because he's a player in the past. I think a lot of Wrexham fans have got on his back, undeservedly. I think at times. I think he's a decent keeper. He's a very good number 2 for this level, and again, like Jarvis, could easily be a first team keeper in other teams in this level. For him to come in after not playing for a long time, he had a really good game, didn't he, Mark?
Oh, superb. Absolutely superb. I can only echo what you said, that to have a backup like him is fantastic. And we've done ever so well to manage to convince him that this is a project to stick with, because, yeah, when he's had chances and done well, he must be thinking, I could be first choice. I could leave and be first choice. But he seems very positive about the club. He seems to love it. He is our longest serving player now as well, of course. And he seems very happy to work with Leighton and take his chances when they come. I must say, with that save, only one person in the press box realised it was a save. That was Andy Morrell, who was in the row in front of me. And yeah, when the match ended, he said he touched that, and nobody really bought it, if I'm honest with you. If you listen to my Hot Take podcast, I don't mention a save. I just say hit the bar, because nobody thought Dibble had touched it. In fact, I even said nobody had a chance to even move. I wasn't right there. But then when I went down to pitch side, it immediately became apparent that Dibble had saved this, because it seems like he told every single person that he'd seen after the final whistle that he'd saved it. Everyone was talking about it. Apparently, the changing room was full of it. Quite right, too. If I could make a save like that, I'd be banging on about it, I tell you. And what a wonderful example of a save being worth a goal, because we score, like I said, 97 seconds later and win it. Brilliant stuff.
Again, you hear a lot of these pundits saying, oh, like Roy Keane, for example, goalkeepers, they're good shot stoppers, it's their job. Well, it's also strikers' jobs to score goals, and they don't always do that all the time.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I think Chris Dibble, he has had, I think a lot of fans, I think he had a couple of bad mistakes a good few seasons back. I think a lot of fans seem to jump on him at every sort of micro mistake he does. Yeah, his distribution's not quite as good as Rob Leighton's. He's not quite as good as a goalkeeper as Rob Leighton, but if he's ever in goal, I'm never really worried. I think he's got he's an excellent shot stopper, and he's a cracking number 2. And really, really happy for him to get an FA Trophy start, because I think he deserves to be the cup goalkeeper, doesn't he, Bill?
Yeah, I love having cup goalkeepers. I think it's the way to do it, and it's kind of a shame that he hasn't had a little bit more time for the season in general. Or maybe it's not a shame because it means Rob Layton's been fit all year and we've not had to worry about playing a second choice keeper. But I nominated him for my unsung hero, I think, from the awards from last year. And I think I just only really echo what you say, Chay. You know, he's there's something to be said for a player that's lasted as long at the club as he has, who doesn't mind being second choice. And a lot of people would see that as a detriment, but maybe he realized, you know, he knows he's not better than Rob Layton, but he knows he's probably going to get chances during a season because Rob Layton's a little bit injury prone. So to be willing to hang around and do a job is fantastic. And again, like Dan Jarvis, he could be playing for a club at this level and being a starting goalkeeper easily.
Counting caretakers, how many managers has he seen off? Wrexham.
Oh, right. Including caretakers, you say?
Including caretakers. I've created that radio gold awkward silence.
Yeah. What year did you say how long has he been with us for again? Just remind me.
He signed for us under Keats' first spell.
Oh, right. So including caretakers. No, that's a tough one. 7?
Oh, he's close, Chay. He's close. But are you going to go up or are you going to go down?
6.
Keats' first time. Andy Davis and Carl Darlington, two-headed caretaker beast. Ricketts.
Yeah.
Barrow, remember him? The blinking. Listen.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Brian Flynn, caretaker.
Oh, yeah.
Keats.
Yeah.
Parkinson's is 8th.
Wow.
8th manager that.
Brian Flynn was the one I wasn't remembering. Oh, it was a little bit of a guess, but Brian Flynn was the one I didn't remember there. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. That's some set of managers in that amount of time, isn't it?
That's just right. Yeah. I think he's you know, fair play to him. He should be applauded. His patience, his hard work. Occasionally, he's come in like that as a cup player, and he looks a tiny bit rusty. Certainly wasn't on Friday. In terms of what Roy Keane said about goalkeepers are supposed to save shots, yeah, midfielders are supposed to stay on the pitch for 90 minutes and not get sent off and let their teammates down. But Roy didn't fulfill that brief all the time, did he? I thought the first half save he made low down to his left as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's the sort of thing goalkeepers do in repetitions over and over, those sharp dropping down saves. But it wasn't easy. Mitchell turned really well, hit it hard from about just outside the 6-yard box. Toes was between him and Dibble, so that might have just unsighted him slightly. But he got down really quickly. Powerful shot, pushed it around the post. It was a very good save. So, yeah, he had a very good save and a worldie. Fair dues. Can't say much fairer than that.
Let's talk about that a little bit. He's used to come in and maybe be rusty for cup games. Do you think that's the improvement off the pitch with the fitness coaches, things like that? Maybe keeping players who are not as active sharper.
Could be, couldn't it? Could be that he's maturing as a player, perhaps. Yeah. I always remember. I mean, look. Please, firstly, I should make myself clear. I'm not criticising him. I always remember the Harrogate game in his first season, the one that we lost when Mark Beck scored twice. He was not at fault for either goal. But having made a good start of the season and then got injured, and I wonder what would have happened if he'd not got injured. You know, how it would have panned out for him at Wrexham. He looked a bit awkward, a little bit clunky in that game, and it sort of stuck in my head that. And he has had a couple of games, you know, where he's not been able to stop goals going in. Again, I wouldn't say I blame him, but, you know, behind like a sort of makeshift defence when we picked a second string FA Trophy side, like at Halifax when we got battered a couple of seasons ago. But it was nice to see him there, just showing he hasn't played for a long time, and bang, he's right back in there and he's performing. So what would have happened if he'd not got what actually was a bit of a freak injury? So he came into the team because Chris Dunn got injured in the warm-up at Maidstone for his debut, saves a penalty on his debut, has a really good run of form, but then he gets injured, and we brought in Callum Preston and Luke Coddington, while the other two, Dunn and Dibble, raced to get fit first, and they both got fit at pretty much the same time. But Dunn is when you combine the two of them. Dunn just about got back first, and then he took that first spot. Unlike subsequently once Leighton came in, I don't think that Dibble. I don't think that season there was a clear-cut first choice. Clearly, Dibble was brought in to be backup, but the way he performed when Dunn was injured, I don't think Dunn would have got back in if Dibble hadn't been injured, because he did really well. So it does make me wonder just how things would have panned out if Dibble hadn't picked up what was a fairly freak injury, or if he got back to fitness before Dunn did. There were too many D's in that all of that.
Dibble does.
Did double.
Yeah.
Didn't do. Does. Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, I 100% agree. And he has been quite unlucky for a lot of the portion of his career at Wrexham. You know, last season he had some excellent games, and then when Leighton came back into the team. So yeah, I 100% agree. I think he's been a little bit unfortunate at times, but that's just the way football is, unfortunately. But now let's talk about the spicy bit of the game. James Jones. Go on, Mark.
Sorry, just one little thing about Dibble. Mental strength. Was it 2 seasons ago when the first season Notts County had come down? Dibble's playing because Leighton's injured and has a good spell, and then gets himself, makes a horrible mistake at County. We're winning through Devontae Redmond's goal. Cross comes in, Dibble drops it, and they equalise, and we draw. I think it takes a bit of mental strength to come back to that ground where he's played once and messed it up and perform like he did on Friday. I know from being a failed goalkeeper that mistakes can stick in your head. That's probably why I was a failed goalkeeper. And going back to the scene of the crime can be a bit upsetting. Fair play. He's gone back there, clear-minded. That's just not in his head. And he's turned up and put in a good performance. So absolutely right. Right, Shay, sorry, get as spicy as you want.
Spicy bit of the game. James Jones. That man's on fire at the moment, isn't he? And to get a goal again. And how many goals in the last minute or the dying minutes have we had this season, Mark? Because we just become really dangerous. We don't stop. We just don't stop, and it's great to see.
Well, if you ask,
tell you what, while Mark's looking, I just want to make a point about Reece Johnson, who has come in for some stick over the last couple of weeks, but it's the second time in recent memory, never mind across the season, where he's either scored or provided in that critical end of the game. So, he did it against Wealdstone as well, where he scored, and it was a hell of a goal that in the 96th minute. He's provided a goal here that's won us the game. So, I mean, if he's the current scapegoat, like, we're not really suffering, are we?
Yeah, exactly. Well, he scored the winner at Wealdstone, so that's 95th minute. Jones, 89th minute, so there's 2. Let's have a look for a few more.
Halifax.
Yeah. James Jones again.
Even Jordan Davis is in that Wealdstone game.
So again?
Sorry, the Jordan Davis goal in the Wealdstone game was the 88th minute, wasn't it? I know that was an equaliser, not a winner, but it was a key goal, wasn't it, late on?
Absolutely. And then, of course, we've got Marine, Jordan Davis, 95th minute free kick. Oh, what else have we got? Is that it? Surely we've done it more than that.
I have a feeling I thought we did it more than that.
Yeah, me too.
What about Halifax?
Yeah, Halifax. We probably have. I just can't read. I mean, we scored late goals in other games that haven't been key. And we are scoring more late goals. But, yeah, that kind of looks like... I mean, the Yeovil winner's 77th minute. It's fairly late, isn't it?
Yeah. Bit of an anticlimax for that, then.
Yeah. Oh, well. Maybe Stockport's are going to win the league.
I think it's fair to say we've got a lot of key late second half goals then, rather than maybe last couple of minutes. We've got a lot of equalisers and then winners in that last sort of quartile. Oh, how American did I sound then? the last like sort of quarter of the game, and it's it's the sign of a really good side. We're just a little bit unfortunate. There's a lot of good teams in the league this year, because I think a couple of years ago we'd have absolutely destroyed the league, wouldn't we? I don't think it would have even been in question.
I mean, I've got to say as well, I mean, I'll have a quick look if I can find the stats. But I remember a while ago hearing the statistic which threatened to spoil my enjoyment of football, which was like the team that scores first wins something like 70% of the time. Well, we certainly are not applying that, because we've conceded first in 13 games and we've only lost 3 of them. Won 5, drew 5. Wow.
That's
really not bad, is it?
That is pretty good, I must say. So we are one exciting side to watch at the moment, on and off the pitch. But yeah, that's the FA Trophy. We are in the hat for the next round. We have got Stockport at home. That should be a really tasty tie. I'm really looking forward to that one. But yeah, after this, we're going to talk about our favourite non-final FA Trophy games.
Playing the music you love. This is Calon FM.
Well, Mark's been talking to people on Twitter about their favourite non-final FA Trophy games. I'm assuming the only final we'd be talking about would be the Grimsby one, not the North Ferriby one, of course, which has been erased from my memory completely. So, Mark, take it away.
Oh, well, just loads of people saying North Ferriby, it was brilliant. Well, maybe not. So, yeah, we asked for, like you said, non-finals, and there are some obvious ones, naturally. There are some surprising ones, which I really like, and quite eclectic ones. Well, firstly, Robert Manchester says Torquay away leg of the semi-final. Wow. I mean, just look back at the photos of that. What a fantastic occasion that was, with a good following considering how far away it is. And yeah, it was brilliant. And the way we played in that match, because it was 2-1 from the first leg, everything to play for. Torquay threw quite a lot at us in the first half, and we did well to sort of keep them at arm's length. And in the second half, we just destroyed them. Kieran Morris, absolutely fabulous. Louis Moult. Oh, it was a brilliant performance. I know I've said this before. It's hard to sort of put that sort of day alongside the fact that this was an FA Trophy run up. We had Kevin Wilkins sacked. You didn't see that coming after we battered Torquay at their own place. Got our biggest ever win at Torquay. But that was a fantastic game.
Yeah, it was a strange one, wasn't it? That whole FA Trophy run, wasn't it? Getting to the final and stumbling at the final hurdle to a team like North Ferriby, whose probably whole population were in the away end. And we were cruising in that final too. So yeah, it's a strange one to look back at that Torquay game, because I didn't go to the away game, but we were decent over the two legs. It's a shame we didn't get another trophy.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, LT says Louis Moult overhead kick at Stockport. So also from that season. I mean, that was tremendous, that game, I remember, because we were sort of playing all right, and then managed to go 2 down against a team from the division below. But there was a real feeling of inevitability how we came back, and Moult's overhead kick. Remember that one from around the penalty spot? Absolutely brilliant finish.
Yeah, it was excellent. I didn't go to that game, but I do remember the highlights.
And then we took them to our place and spanked them 6-1, just like we will in the league.
Maybe.
That's going to be clipped, that, Mark. Some Stockport County nerd is going to clip that and put it all over Twitter.
How dare you claim that there could be nerdy Stockport fans? That's bang out of order. And while we're at it, how dare you claim that there's electricity in Stockport?
Oh.
Wrong and wrong. Moving along. here's a cracking call from Craig Jones, which also makes me feel a bit sad, if I'm honest with you. Which is one that springs to mind was the 4-2 win away at Tranmere during the dizzy heights of Mills Ball. It was a wonderful performance. The atmosphere felt like a league game. Yes, absolutely. I mean, that was, God, at that point, you're thinking, nothing could go wrong here. What a shame that Gary Mills's time fizzles out pretty much straight from there. But that was a marvellous game and a marvellous performance. Absolutely battered them.
Not often we do that either, is it? With Camia.
No.
Yeah.
I recall, in a way, that game had the seeds of failure in it, because I remember he made some quite peculiar decisions. Sean Newton played as a central midfielder and scored and did a good box-to-box job. But it maybe was a sign that Mills just tended to shake the bag and see what came out first. I don't know what image I'm creating there. It's either crisps or the FA Cup draw. I'm not sure. But we were brilliant. And my other main memory of that was that Tranmere had Gary Brabin as manager, and their fans were turning against him. And then we turned up at their place and we stuck 4 goals past them, played some really good football as well. And their fans were, oh my gosh, I thought it was going to be a public execution or something. That really, their fans were livid. And I remember seeing, because the main stand at Tranmere, the press box right at the back, but you look all the way down and you could see the dugout, and there were Tranmere fans just like marching up to the dugouts as close as they could get to scream abuse at him. And he's standing there watching the match, just thinking, whoa, he's gone in the morning. Well, he wasn't actually, but yeah, I just remember thinking, we've broken Tranmere. This is great. John Davis. Now, I like this, and I don't think we should ignore it. It's gone a bit more recent than you might expect. Memory goes a bit hazy, but I'm going very recent and saying Boreham Wood this season. Feels like forever since we took a cup seriously for whatever reasons. We had a good opponent, a strong squad, and played really well. Felt like the good days were back leaving that day. And also Jordan Davis in that game, kicking a football harder than anyone I've ever seen before. It sounded like a sonic boom off his boot when he struck it. Yeah, we shouldn't underestimate that this is a good team, and this will go down historically as one of our better seasons in recent memory. We might even emulate the old Andy Morrell 98 points team, who knows? But it was just, that was an impressive performance, wasn't it, when we beat Bournemouth this season?
Yeah, and it was the game that has probably kicked off this run, isn't it, really? Yeah. You know, I know it sounds like a bit of a Captain Obvious thing to say, but I remember watching that game. Was it Wealdstone after the Bournemouth game, wasn't it?
I think it was, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and looking at that game against Bournemouth, they played a good, strong side against us. We played some really nice football. Watching that game made me not so worried about the home league game. And yeah, I think that was an excellent game. Yeah, I 100% agree. This is a really good side, and that was a fun game.
It certainly was the game before Wealdstone, and it was also, don't apologise for stating the obvious. It's important to say it. That was the first game of our 7-match so far winning run. Also, it was the first game in which McFadden was fit, and we were able to see all 3 of the new signings, and it felt like that. It really did feel like, the final 3 pieces of the jigsaw have been put in place, and we go and batter a good team. And as you say, I think made the atmosphere around the game last week against them in the league very different. We battered them once. We went into it knowing we could do that and looking to batter them again, and did. So no, I totally agree.
Yeah, I think it would have been quite nervy the other day, wouldn't it, when we went to play him? Because I think there's a bit of a fear factor around Boreham Wood just because of their FA Cup run. So I think you're right. If we hadn't beat them in the trophy, that kind of is a completely different atmosphere.
Yeah. I don't think just because of their FA Cup run, they're a good side, Boreham Wood. I think their FA Cup run has actually hindered their season, because I think they were flying before that, and they've had bumpy form since then.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's tragic, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I lose sleep over it.
Yeah. Heartbreaker.
It's
Wrexham,
such a lovely club.
Oh, I mean, I'm certainly open to making a little trip down there at the end of the season. Wrexham Woody says, what a day Gainsborough away was. Early breakfast and beers at the turf, cracking day out, and celebrations on the pitch afterwards. Joe says that Gainsborough semi-final second leg. Hanco67 also says Gainsborough Trinity. Wrexham Lass, Gainsborough Trinity away, the best goal of the game, and I missed it. Danny Wright screamer. I popped to the ladies. Yeah, it was that was a memorable but really scary game. But it's also the game that wins us our first trip to Wembley.
Yeah, I didn't go to that game. I can't really remember. I remember listening to it on the radio. So how did that game go?
Well, we're 3-1 up from the first leg, and
Yeah.
you're thinking, okay, hopefully we'll be okay here. Gainsborough were the division below us, but you're sort of thinking, but they were going well, and they played well in the first leg, to be fair to them. But you thought, well, you're 3-1 up from the first leg. That's usually a comfortable lead, isn't it? And we played well in the first half, and Danny Wright scores halfway through the first half. A brilliant goal, cutting in from the right on his left foot, curling it around the goalie inside the far post. So fantastic stuff. So now we're 3-1 up on aggregate. You think, right, the tie is over. But Gainsborough came at us really hard. They equalised 5 minutes later. Terry Hawkridge has gone on to play a decent level and looked really good in that game. And then they started putting the pressure on us. And we were defending. It looked like we were all right. 85th minute, and it's still 1-1. So we still got the 2-goal buffer. But then 5 minutes left, they got another. And funnily enough, my two main memories of the game, okay, that goal, but also right at the end, it was a proper kitchen sink job. There were bodies all over our penalty area. The ball's getting slung in. We're clinging on. And it was one of those, when the penalty area is so crowded, you can't make out totally what's going on. And I remember right last minute, they stick the ball in. It's bouncing about. And he's sort of trying to, what's actually happening here? The ball we can see is very close to the goal. And then suddenly it's flying out of the crowd of bodies up under the bar. And out of nowhere, Maxwell's hand comes up, makes a fantastic save, absolutely incredible save. And we hold on and we go through to Wembley. If that had gone in, I think we'd have lost in extra time, personally, because the momentum was so against us. So that save by Maxwell was just massive. But it was exciting. I mean, the atmosphere was superb. As was it Wrexham Woody was saying, the fans spilling onto the pitch afterwards, but it wasn't an issue then. It was a real sort of jubilant thing. We got to Wembley for the first time. And in a way, when you have to actually suffer to get it, maybe that makes it quite special because, you've really earned that opportunity.
Yeah, I like that. I really do like that. So it's nice to hear about games that you didn't go to.
And also had the feel of like a sort of more traditional club in a way. I've never been in the Football League, but I had that nice feel of a sort of traditional football ground. The Gainsborough fans were really good, made a lot of noise. It felt like a really big cup tie. I mean, you could argue, and I hope I'm not being patronising to Gainsborough Trinity, that's one of the big games in their history to be that far from going to Wembley. So
it was one of ours.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it felt like a real crackle about the atmosphere. It was a smashing game. But like I said, we needed Maxwell at the end. Amazing save by Maxwell, or I think we'd have not gone to Wembley myself.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Elements of that may creep into one of my favourite trophy games in the moment. But can I just mention, because I feel I should, there's one other game mentioned in this Twitter exchange, and it led to having a very nice chat for me on Twitter with Mark Thorley, who was saying about his first game with his lad and how they fell in love with the club watching Wrexham play. And I wanted to mention it because it's lovely and because the chat that we had was good. It wasn't an FA Trophy game, actually, so I want to mention it, but it doesn't really count. It was Salisbury Wilkins' first game in charge. But we did have a nice old chat about it, and it was lovely seeing him talking about how, him and his lads got addicted to Wrexham as a result of the match, and that's the sort of things I like to hear. So I want to mention it anyway, even though what doesn't fit in properly.
Maybe we should do that as a feature, Mark.
Oh, what
at
game
some point
did you fall in love with Wrexham? Oh, I like it. What's your favourite memory, and Chay? FA Trophy?
Just, I found it hard to think about it, but my favourite singular memory was from this season, actually playing Gloucester. It was a game, I might sound rude in saying this, I've never really been that crazy about the FA Trophy really until we get to the semi-final, final sort of thing. Which I know it sounds a bit rude and what have you, but there was something about that game that I really enjoyed. Jordan Davis getting 2 excellent goals, Max Clareworth with an absolute screamer, and my favourite singular moment for the FA Trophy, because it was a small crowd for this season, was Kwame Thomas' start after having such a long injury. Him coming back looking excellent and then getting that goal was a really nice moment to commentate on, wasn't it, Mark? Really, you could see the relief in his face. The players are really happy. The fans are really happy to see Kwame play because they hadn't seen him play for us before. So, yeah, I think that's my favourite singular moment from the FA Trophy, apart from the Grimsby final, of course, was seeing Kwame Thomas get that goal because he deserved it. And it was it was a really nice feeling walking away from that game after covering it.
I must say as well, people don't tend to talk about games like that because we're expected to win them. And I understand that. But, there's you go to watch football matches to see your team win. And I've always found it quite enjoyable watching games like that, where we do get into that comfort zone and we can enjoy ourselves and we see if we can chip in any more goals. When it was 4-0, you're thinking, come on, Kwame, get a goal, mate.
The
Welsh Premier Cup was a silly competition in a lot of ways, I agree. I accept, rather. But I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed going to the other Welsh teams. And I enjoyed sometimes watching us batter teams. It was, without wanting again to sound funny about them, but I'm a Wrexham fan. And, when we stuck 8 goals past Merthyr Tydfil, Andy Morell looks embarrassed when he scored his 7th, but I was loving it. I went to the racecourse, I saw him score 8 goals. It's fine by me. I don't care who it was. It's very much.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, to throw in the analogy, it's very much like when Frank Grimes arrives at the Springfield nuclear power plant and hates Homer Simpson and decides he's going to try and humiliate him by fooling him into entering a children's competition to design a nuclear power plant. And Homer is on stage showing the awful effort he's made. And Frank Grimes jumps up in the audience and says, "Look, everyone, Homer Simpson has entered a competition for children." And then Carl, Homer's mate sitting behind him, says, "Yeah, and he's beating their brains out." That's that sort of thing. We beat Merthyr Tydfil, we destroyed Newport County 6-1 in the final. Biggest mismatch of all time. It was beautiful. They can have that playoff final because we've got that. We've got the 6-1.
It's nice, isn't it? That game was good vibes. And what I liked about it is it felt like I know it might sound ridiculous because Wrexham games this season haven't really felt normal, have they? Post-pandemic takeover and, the massive crowds. It feels like a big occasion every time Wrexham play. That one felt just a little bit of a touch of normality of previous seasons. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but I kind of weirdly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see us beat Gloucester 5-0. So, yeah. What about yours, Bill? What was your favourite?
We've had some fantastic games mentioned and some, like some sentimental ones like yours, Chay. I've gone for incredibly petty for mine. My favourite trophy game was a game against Kidderminster Harriers. It was the first time we'd beaten them after we got relegated. And it's mainly because I have a very close friend from university who was a Kidderminster Harriers fan. In fact, I kind of not to be big-headed, but I kind of converted him to football because I used to talk about Wrexham all the time. And he said, I might go down and watch the Harriers. And he's become a pretty big fan since then. And we used to have a lot of like banter with each other. And I always used to talk about how we'd come down and we'd batter them even if we got relegated. And they smashed us pretty much. A typical Karma smashed us pretty much every single time after that. Until this game, we beat them 2-0 in 2010. That sort of the season before the 98-point year, and they were the sort of precursor to that hell of a team. You've got some players in there that played a lot that the next year, some that didn't. And overall, maybe that was sort of like helping towards building that being a really good side. Unfortunately, Tom wasn't there to witness the defeat. It was the only game I think that we had whilst Kidderminster was still around where he didn't actually make the effort to come down, but I still took a lot of pleasure in it anyway.
Well,
What yours, Mark?
I'm going to go back to our first season in the FA Trophy. And in the last 16, we were away to Workington. And it just sticks in my head. I'm quite pleased the way we've looked at this. So all three of us have brought in sort of personal memories. And much as we want to analyse football and pull it apart, the truth is you can't forget the fan experience. We all love football because of the experiences it gives us. And so mine is it was partly the game, but it's much more the experience, the day itself that went up to Workington, a ground I'd never been to before. I've got to say, I mean, it was I love their ground. They used to be in the Football League, of course, and their ground clearly is exactly what it looked like in 1922 or whatever when they joined it. It is an amazing old Football League ground. And again, I sound patronising. I don't mean it. It's beautiful. It's got all sorts of real weird little peculiarities of the stands, the floodlights. They weren't massive. They were big. But they were really weird, sort of. They had the pylons they were built on were really odd because they were they started wide and pretty much stayed the same width all the way up. They're really strange looking floodlights. I remember being gripped by it, and I used to do a bit of photography with paying for my student days. I spent about half an hour just wandering around the ground taking photographs. I got hundreds of photographs of it. Really enjoyed myself. I'd gone with my dad, and he'd gone into the social club at the ground. And when I went back into the social club after my little wander with my camera, I find that my dad is in there holding court amongst all the Workington fans who are hanging on his every word as he tells them what Wrexham are like and all the problems we've had off the pitch and how we're a lovely bunch, really. And I must say as well, there was a feeling then, I think Wrexham fans were quite humble. I think some teams have dropped down to the non-league and acted like we need to get back up. We shouldn't be down here playing this lot of teams. Whereas Wrexham's attitude, I think, was we've been given a problem off the pitch by our owners and we're going to take this on the chin because and just do our best. And I think a lot of smaller clubs appreciated that amongst our fans. And they were loving it. My dad was there chatting to them. They wanted to hear all the stories about what had happened at Wrexham. And then the game was dramatic. Because Workington played extremely well. So we were going really well at the time. Mark Williams and Jeff Louis were in their pomp, and we were unbeaten in about 6 weeks or so, something like that. But Workington gave us problems, and a quarter of an hour left, they scored. They're winning 1-0, and we came back brilliantly. We got a penalty 4 minutes later. Mark Williams won it. And Nathan Fairhurst, remember him? Scored the penalty.
Wow.
And then Mark Williams scored again 83rd minute and again 85th minute. So we ended up winning 5-1. But it was just a brilliant day. The only thing that went wrong that day for me was that one of the things I was discovering about non-league football was that you get nice catering. I was only 12 stone when we got relegated. And, rather than get your chicken balti pie that's been frozen in a factory in Peterborough.
Don't knock the chicken balti pie.
I do like chicken balti pies. I immediately named my favourites. I don't know why I did that, really. But they've all been sort of half cooked and then frozen in a big depot in Peterborough and sent out around the Football League. Instead of that, you've got people cooking stuff on the spot in a little burger van. And up in the northwest, of course, because Workington is in the Lake District, pretty much. Cumberland sausage bap. I'm thinking, all right, this is proper football food. This, and the tragedy was, I got my Cumberland sausage bap, and before I could get a chance to take a bite out of it, a gust of wind came and took the top off the bap. The ratio of meat and bread wasn't right, which would have been the title of this show had you not already come up with a good one earlier.
Well, I love that. I love listening to that about random, non-league teams. And am I right in thinking when we first went down, wasn't there a cup called the Satanta Shield, or is there something?
Yes.
Is that just something I made up? Yeah.
No, it wasn't a nightmare.
Yeah.
The Satanta Shield. We had this epic game at Altrincham right at the start of that season. I'm just getting up now. Our 5th game in non-league. No, beg your pardon. It was a bit later. It was in November. We won 2-1 in extra time. Mark Williams scored, and then Jeff Louis scored 111th minute. Yeah. And the next round, the enormous crowd for that derby was, hang on a sec, 537 at Altrincham.
Well,
275 Wrexham fans. And then in the next round, we played Southport at home and lost.
Well, so, to wrap up this segment, bring back the Satanta Shield.
That sounds a beautiful message. Can I just say one tiny final thing about the FA Trophy?
Go on.
That the game after Bill's choice was maybe, without us realising it, quite significant, because we then went to Salisbury City, and Dean Saunders, having picked a good side for the Kidderminster match, picked a complete second 11 for the Salisbury game. I was thrilled. I went down to commentate. It was a hell of a long journey down to Salisbury. I decided stupidly to take it by train, went along. We lost 1-0. Lee Fowler, who was not match fit, he brought him in. I think it was his debut, and he clearly looked good but wasn't ready yet and gave away a penalty. And then on the way home, there was vandalism on the line, and so I could only go back as far as Newport and ended up being on a bus and then in a taxi back to Wrexham. It was a long day. The taxi was particularly awkward because the train company paid for it, and I was in the back of the taxi with 2 women who I felt I knew. I recognized them from somewhere, but when I tried to be friendly and chat to them, they just sort of ignored me. And the weird thing was that the next week I went into work and I realized that one of them was not a supply worker where I work. And she was very friendly, and I was thinking, why wouldn't you talk to me in the back of the taxi? What did I do? But anyway, the significance of that game, not the social awkwardness, was that was the first game we tried Nat Percival at centre-back. Wow. And that turned out to be a very good idea. We didn't do it for the rest of the season, pretty much, but that was the game where Saunders trialled it, and it worked. So the basis of that strong team the next season was partly because of that experimental losing team.
Wow. Fantastic. That's a great way to end this segment.
I'm Harry Lennon, and this is Dragonheart.
Well, yes, we did mention the Santa Shield. It wasn't a bizarre, strange dream. That I completely forgot about it, but yeah, it sprung to my mind for some reason then. Anyway, yeah, big game on Saturday against Bromley. Let's hope we carry on in this winning form, or at least avoid losing. It's a huge, huge game, isn't it, lads?
Oh, massive.
Massive.
I actually am a bit sad. Maybe we should look at this in a week or so. I looked at all our remaining fixtures, and I think that this and the Boreham Wood away games are the ones most likely to drop points in, personally. It's tough, but we can win it. We can do this.
Yeah, we got some we were on a fantastic run of form. That this is a really, really tricky game. And let's hope they deliver. And equally, if not a bigger game, is the women's game on Sunday against Llandudno, which is a title decider, Mark. We're going to be looking at that in more depth next week, hopefully. Yeah, a huge game, historic game, isn't it, Mark?
Fantastic to be able to achieve that at this point in their history so early on. It'd be wonderful. And we're running coaches down there as well, which is terrific. It really is nice to see the club are taking this seriously. They should do. But this would be a major step forward for the women's team, who have had an outstanding time of it. And not just a senior one, but the under-19s as well could win their league too. So, all across the board, our youth team of the boys is doing well. The women's under-19s and the women's team and our first team. Wow. We're all on a roll. We're all going in the right direction, aren't we? It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's really nice that the women's team are really thriving, and let's hope another Rosie Hughes hat trick. She knows how to score a goal.
Come on, Rosie.
We'll be looking at that in more depth. So good luck to the men. Good luck to the women. This has been Chay, Mark, and Bill. This has been Dragonheart.